Hi everybody, I'm Matt from the Academy of Model Aeronautics.
And my name is Chad.
And we've got a real treat for you guys today. We have the Nano Hexagon from Revell. This is a 6-bladed multi-rotor that fits in the palm of your hand.
Exactly, and we've both flown multi-rotors of various sizes, but this is the smallest one I've ever flown. Now you flew a multi-rotor that was not 6-bladed.
I did. I flew a 4-bladed version called the Phase and liked it quite a bit. Had a few issues, but it was a pretty nice little device for the price point anyway.
Exactly.
One of the big things I found when switching over to something like this with the 6 blades is the stability increased exponentially.
Exactly. You know, you would think, oh, and sometimes bigger is better. You get more stability, and when you fly smaller, I've flown helicopters, micro helicopters, and even just the gentle breeze of the air conditioning unit or the heater will knock these things off course.
Right.
I did not experience that much at all with this.
No, as soon as you got up in the air, I was amazed because the ability to do a static hover was almost instantaneous.
Oh yeah, there's always a little bit of tilting, and there is with this. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's pretty solid, especially in that beginner mode.
And you talked about being solid. One of the things that I was really impressed with was the build quality. Normally, a lot of these are just made out of a body that's just a circuit board.
Right.
This has actually got molded plastic on all sides, and I feel like I could throw this against the wall and it would still probably fly.
Thrown it, not intentionally, but
you've thrown it into the wall.
I've thrown it into the wall. Sometimes you're in a tight space, and we'll talk about orientation here in a sec. Sometimes you just accidentally scuff a wall, and these things bounce right back.
They do. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with the build quality. It's something that I haven't really seen in a lot of multi-rotors this size.
Especially for the price point.
Yeah, we were talking $39.99, I think, is the retail, and you just can't. You can't beat it as far as that goes.
You know, the one thing I do want to mention are the feet. The feet are great, and that's not too unusual. You see that with a lot of multi-rotors.
They actually make for really nice soft landings.
Exactly. I mean, there's some bounce there. I did have a foot come off during one of my harder landings, and I was on the floor crawling around trying to find it. Did that once, and I got some foam safe CA, and I just re-adhered all the feet. Might not be a bad idea to do that, to take that extra step.
Yeah, I haven't actually done that yet on mine, though I'm probably going to need to. I'm having some of them that are starting to slide a little bit.
Right.
So I'm sure I'm having the same problem you did. But that's definitely on my list of things to do.
In terms of orientation, I didn't have a whole lot of trouble indoors navigating this thing.
Right.
You know, the blades, just like most multi-rotors, fronts are slightly different, different lighting technique or lighting scheme to help you with orientation.
Yeah.
Outdoor, not so much.
Outdoor, I had a lot more trouble. It's the LEDs, I think, are just not quite bright enough to beat the sun. When you combine that with the size of it, outside was a little tough to keep oriented. Indoors, like you said, was great, had no problem whatsoever.
And that's what really these are for. They're indoor flyers. You're not going to take these out to your flying site and fly outside.
That's right.
You know, we mentioned they're stable and take a little bit of a breeze, but you get even a 5-mile-per-hour gust out there.
It might become a little tough.
Right?
Might be a little tough.
The other feature that's pretty common with these multi-rotors is the autoflip.
Autoflip, yeah.
Exactly, and that can be done with just a few clicks of the remote.
That's right.
And it's fun to impress people.
Yeah, and something I've noticed with a lot of these is that typically when you do that autoflip, you're going to get a little bit of drop in altitude. These, surprisingly, very little drop.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they're lightweight, the size, if the extra motors compared to maybe a quad. But you're right, they recover very quickly.
Yeah, which really gave me a lot more confidence to try to do those tricks indoors.
Exactly.
Typically with with some of the quadcopter versions of these that do the autoflip, indoors it's a little scary because to get enough altitude, you're getting really close to the ceiling.
Exactly.
Because you're not sure how far that's going to drop. With these, I mean, it was almost circling onto itself to a certain degree.
Right.
So I didn't have any trouble indoors with that.
Now, if you do have some hard landings or you break a prop, this multi-rotor comes with spare props. Again, not too unusual, but it takes it a step further.
It does, and something I was thrilled to see in the manual, surprising and thrilled all at the same time. Not only do they tell you how to replace your props, which they give you extras for, but they also show you detailed instructions on how to replace a motor if it goes bad.
Exactly.
And detailed instructions on how to replace a battery if it goes bad. Now, remember, I said we're talking about a device that goes for about $39.99 retail.
Yeah, you would think you would just throw it away. But you don't have to.
You don't have to. They show you exactly what you need to do. They do explain that you're probably going to need a little bit of soldering experience. But I can tell you I looked at it, and the amount of experience you're going to need is pretty minimal.
Right.
So as long as you've had some experience, I think you'll end up being fine.
Right.
But yeah, I was really surprised, and like this is designed and marketed toward an intermediate flyer. So I'm guessing that's part of the reason why that's
That must be. And I will admit, when you take it out of beginner mode, it is much more nimble, and you really have to use mouse movements to get that aircraft going.
Yeah, and let's keep that in mind. These are the transmitters for these. It's kind of the standard small transmitter that comes with a lot of them. And yeah, everything's kind of downsized a little bit.
Right.
And I have giant hands, so it makes it a little even harder for me.
Right. I didn't take mine out of beginner mode, honestly, just because the stability made it much more enjoyable for me.
I actually went into intermediate and into expert just to try them out. And I actually have a little bit more luck in the higher levels.
Okay.
That being said, something I always try to get people to do is to start off in the beginner mode until you get a sense of how these things kind of operate in the air, because they're all a little different and every pilot's a little different.
Exactly. So as you're out and about, don't hesitate to pick these up. The price point's right. They're durable. They're fun to fly. And I enjoyed flying it.
I did too, absolutely. So for a more detailed review, you can check out Park Pilot Magazine, where we've got a full write-up on the Nano Hexagon from Revell. For Chad, I'm Matt from the Academy of Model Aeronautics. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.